Hello, my name is Raphael Freeman and I'm a typesetter. My company is Typesetting, www.runninattype.com. In this video, we're going to try and teach you some basic skills of how to use Word paragraph styles for a number of purposes. The first purpose is as an author or an editor or a proofreader, you can prepare the text for typesetting in a consistent way so the typesetter knows exactly what you want. The second purpose is it will allow you, as that author or editor, etc., to be able to play around with the text. Editors, for example, sometimes want things double-spaced, and they want to see it single-spaced. And to give some kind of an idea of what the book is going to look like at the end. Preparing the text in this way will save you a lot of time, and particularly if you're an editor, and particularly if this manuscript is going to go for typesetting, there'll be less time spent afterwards between the editor and the typesetter. So let's dive in. So here is a book that's been written by an author, and no styles have been used here, and that's fine. It's perfectly okay. It's been fairly consistently done, but as you can see already here in chapter 2, this particular paragraph has no indentation, and this paragraph does. And is this an inconsistency or is this intentionally? So how do we do that? Now, first and foremost, I'm using Microsoft Word. I'm using version 2016, the latest version. I have Office 365. I happen to be on a PC. You could be on a Mac. You could be using a really old version of Word. Perfectly fine. The only difference is that the same commands, the same controls will just be in a different place. So I just now spent about 10 minutes trying to work out how to do all of this on the Macintosh, just to make sure everything was all there for this particular tutorial. It is there, it's just in a different place. So you have to spend a few minutes finding it. So first we have to understand what a style is, what a paragraph style is. A paragraph style is something that is going to define what a paragraph is going to look like overall. In other words, if we have something italics like we do here, we're ignoring that. So this particular paragraph has been written in the font Calibri. It's 12 points. It's got a certain leading. Doesn't really matter what that is. On the right of it, if you can see, it's ragged. The first line has got an indent. There's no tab here. If I want to see the tab, I press this little pilcrow over here, and I can see a tab hasn't been put in. Okay, there's an first line indent. And this defines what the paragraph is. Now, if I click here, I can get into paragraph settings. And I can see all sorts of settings here. It's got spacing after of 10 points. It's got multiple line spacing. The first line has been indented by 1 centimeter. It's a left to right paragraph. By the way, just as an aside, if you're doing Hebrew, you'll be pleased to know that about a week or two ago, after about 20 years, Microsoft has finally updated Microsoft Word that supports Hebrew in full. Things have improved. So that is a paragraph, style. Now, we're not really interested in making this a gorgeous paragraph. We're interested in making this a consistent paragraph. And we're also interested in being able to apply whatever we decide to make the paragraph consistently. So how do we do this? So if we look on the ribbon, we have this thing called normal. And if we look and we move things around, the paragraphs change, all very scary. What we're actually going to do is we're going to click here, and if you see there's a shortcut called Alt Control Shift S. And this brings in the styles. Now what I'm going to do here is I've got a very large screen here. So I'm going to make this a little bit easier to see what's going on by playing around with my screen. I would normally actually put this onto a second screen, but that doesn't matter. And we see we have this style called normal. And what I'm actually going to do is I don't want to use any of Word's styles. I don't want to be confused. I want to create a whole new style. And the way to do this is whilst normal, a paragraph normal has been selected, I go down to here, there are 3 buttons. Now I'm actually going to zoom in. I'm going to try and zoom in. See these 3 buttons over here, okay? And I have no idea which button does which. I think it's this one. We'll have a quick look and we'll see which one. So let's now zoom out again and put the mouse over it. It's the very first one, there's new style. And when I create a new style, it says a name. And I would recommend calling it body, but you can call it anything you like. We make sure the style type is paragraph, not link, nothing else. It's just plain paragraph. And then once we've done that, we can jump into, we can do a few things. We can just actually look at here, and we can choose a random font that you happen to like. Let's choose Garamond, it's a nice font. And we'll choose 12 points, why not? And if we're going to be very, and we could just stop there, but let's be a little bit more fancy. So if we could actually click on font here, we can see lots of options. We're interested in Latin text. Complex text scripts means if you have Hebrew in there, ignore that for this particular tutorial. And we could change the colour of the font. Sometimes that's fun. We can go to advanced, but we're not going to do that. It's Garamond, it's regular, it's 12 points, it's fine. We click on the format again, and we now choose paragraph. And here, the alignment, let's make it justified. Normally a book doesn't have ragged text. And the line spacing, well, we chose 12. So what we're going to do for line spacing here is we're going to make it a little bit bigger. We're going to make it 15 because we're being very adventurous. And the spacing before, we're going to make 0. The spacing after, we're going to make 0. Truth is, it doesn't really matter, but just we want to be vaguely aesthetic. And we're going to the first line, we're going to choose 15. And because I want it to be 15 points, not 15 centimeters, I'm going to type PT here. And that's all I'm going to do right now. Okay, so I've slightly changed the style. Looks a little bit nicer. We're going to ignore tabs, ignore borders. Language is useful, sensible to do that. Keep that in the language, United States, make sure it's the right language. Frame, I'm going to ignore. Numbering, I'm going to ignore. But shortcut key, this could be very useful. And if you look already, there's already been assigned a shortcut key. This is because I always make Control and there's 0 on the numeric keypad for body. So it's already been there. If I want to do something else, I could do Control numeric keypad 4 and it will tell me it's currently assigned to a different style. But for body, I'm going to keep that as it is. And I'm going to do OK. And you notice the moment I do that, the style has now changed. It's now in body. If I now want to apply this style to their name was Pavel, I could take my mouse and go all the way over here and click on body. But I could also, I'm going to now click on the third paragraph, I enjoyed visits to the Hodas, Hodas, I have no idea how that's pronounced. I can also hit Control 0 on my keyboard. And I'd like to emphasize that the 0 is not the 0 on top of the letter P and O, it's the 0 on the numeric keypad. So I could hit the Control key on my keyboard, as the key the bottom left, press the down arrow, go to the beginning of the next paragraph, and hit Control 0. So now I'm very quickly applying styles to my document. So that's very nice. Now, I'm not worrying in this tutorial about things like the fact that this is the wrong apostrophe. It really doesn't matter. This will be fixed by the typesetter. or the editor. And that's the job as the editor to fix these kind of things. But I want to go up a little bit because I very conveniently started in chapter 2 and I didn't even start with the very first paragraph. The very first paragraph typically is not going to be the same as the rest. It's not going to be like body. So what style should I apply to it? What happens if I have an extract? How does that work? What style am I going to apply to that? And how do we build the styles so they work? Notice I ignored chapter 2. I just went straight into the middle. They always say you should start a story at the beginning. But when it comes to setting up styles, we should start in the middle. So what we would do here is we would apply body. Now if you notice here it says body. But what we would now do, and this is very important, is now we would create a new style. Remember down here we've got this new style button. And now I'm going to call this body first. Because it's the beginning. It's different from the other bodies. How it's different, not necessarily important. What is important is different. And because, and this is very important, because I first applied the body style and then clicked on new style, it automatically said style based on body. And that saved me time. And I can now go into body, and the biggest difference I'm going to make is I'm going to have no indent at the beginning of a paragraph. Because obviously a paragraph that's coming after a subtitle doesn't need an indent. It's clear it's a new paragraph. You don't have to tell the person twice. And everything else remains the same. I want to give it a shortcut key. There's one already applied, of course. Control numeric keypad 1. You can make it anything you like. So now, if I hit Control 0, it will look like that, and at Control 1, it will look like that. But the truth is, this isn't a subtitle, this chapter 2. In fact, we need to create some styles here. But before I do that, I'm actually going to do one more step. I'm going to create even a new style based on body first. Okay, so notice it says body first up here, top right. And I'm going to call this chapter first. Again, the names are just what's convenient for me. The chapter first is going to be the same as body first, except I'm going to add some space before. I like to add space before, I don't like to add space afterwards. So since this text we randomly decided to be 12 points on 15 points, I want to add 2 lines beforehand. Why not? And I'm going to 2 lines, well 2 times 15 is 30, and I'm going to do that. Now the typesetter, when he designs the book, might choose to do a drop cap or an initial cap, or the first 3 words small capped. Might do something graphically different. Do not be tempted, if you are preparing this for typesetting, do not be tempted to add an initial cap or a drop cap in Word. When that goes over to typesetting, it messes things up. So if you want that, you want to have initial caps, it's very important, then make that as an instruction to the typesetter. What's important here is that I've defined this paragraph as chapter first. By the way, I don't remember if I gave a shortcut key. I don't think I did. Let's have a look. So I'm going to give that a shortcut key of, let's say, Control-Alt-1. Okay? It was originally designed for a different book called Teret Shoresh style, for those of you who don't read Hebrew. So now it is now Control-Alt-1. So now I can cycle very quickly. Control-1 looks like this, Control-Alt-1 like this, and Control-0 looks like this. And this is crucial because this now means that the typesetter, when he or she receives this text, will now know that this is different from this text. But it also means something for you. Let's say you're now editing the file and you want to have double line spacing. You can go into body and you can modify it. And if you remember, go to Format, Paragraph, line spacing, you could just say double. And you may say, I want the text to be larger because of my screen or whatever, what have you. You can change it to 18. And not only does body change, but so does body first, which we don't have an example of here. and so does chapter first. So you can quite happily, by simply changing one style, body, you can quite happily change things to suit your screen, to suit your way of working. So we can go back and we can change this to either single line spacing or 15 points. Let's just leave it as single line spacing. It's not very important. Okay? Doesn't look very nice at single line spacing, does it? So because I am a typesetter, of course I can't help but to do it the way that I would perhaps typeset it if in my typesetting software. Typesetters don't typeset books in Microsoft Word. If your typesetter is working in Microsoft Word, they are not a typesetter, and you should be aware of that. Okay, so I've dealt with chapter first, but how about chapter 2 in Golden Mayer? So I think it's going to look nicer to separate these two. And I want to get rid of this red. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what all this is about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first apply a style, Control 1. And I'm going to do, that's body first. And I'm going to do Control 1 here. Okay, so now I've got it nice and clean. And for Golden Mayer, I'm going to give it a new style. New style. I'm going to call it chapter. I try not to use capital letters in the styles because Word does use capital letters, so I want to differentiate. And I'm not worrying about what it looks like right now. I just want it to be visually different. So I'm just going to keep in Garamond and make it 24. Okay. I have to go into the paragraph style because I said this exactly 15, which is going to be not going to be enough lettering, so it's already cut off here. So I'll just make it 28. Again, it doesn't really matter. So now chapter title looks different from the other text. Go to modify because I was too quick and I forgot to choose a shortcut key. And let's make that Control 8. Okay. Chapter 2, I'm going to base on, the number chapter, the chapter number, I'm going to base it on chapter title. So I'm going to first apply chapter title, so now it's nice and big. This trick, I'm just reminding you, we do this trick so that when we create a new style, it'll automatically be based on the old one. New style, it's based on chapter title. And since it's the number of a chapter, I'm going to call it chapter number. Let's make it italics. Let's make it a little bit smaller, just for fun. Just so that visually I can see as I'm editing this book what it's going to look like. Shortcut key, Control 7. Again, it could be anything you like, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to add one extra cool thing. In the paragraph, I'm going to go to line break. And I'm going to say make a page break before chapter 2, because I want chapter 2 to start on a new page. So what I've done now is, even looks a little bit nice. What I've done now is I've prepared my text. So now I can go through and I can now Control down, go to the beginning of the next paragraph, and Control 0 is my shortcut for body. So as you can see, I can, let's get rid of that extra space. And now when I get to chapter 3, now something's happened here. You see there's a lot of space here. The person who prepared this. I'm going to click on the pilcrow. I bet you didn't know this was called a pilcrow. I'm going to actually zoom in on this one so you can see this. So this little symbol over here, see if I can draw a circle around it, that is called a pilcrow. Anyway, so let's zoom out again. So if we click on that, we can see that someone put in a page break here. That wasn't very necessary. So I'm going to hit Enter, I just hit it already, and I'm going to press Shift End to highlight it and press the delete key. I don't want that paragraph return. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to apply the style Control 7. The moment I do that, regular paragraph, but I've defined that Control 7, let's get rid of the pilcrow now, is chapter number, and chapter number always starts on a new page. Control 8, Control Alt 1, chapter first, and now I can go ahead and apply the styles. I call this step coding, applying the styles. Now I've got to be a little bit careful sometimes. If I now hit Control 0 here, it's going to kill the italics. It took me a long time to understand what happened. Because the majority of this paragraph is in italics, i.e. if in a paragraph there are 20 words and 11 of those words are italic, then when you apply the style it will kill the italics. If less than half are italics, then it won't kill the italics. So if you look above here, this paragraph here, we have this word, which is a Hebrew word, chayda, it's a Torah class. It's in italics, it didn't get lost. So what we have to do is we have to be a little bit careful, we apply the style, and then we can simply apply the italics again. But if we look very carefully, we have an interesting situation that maybe we want to do something here. Here is the approximate translation. We might want to give this to be a slight, this part of it I should say, this bit to look a little bit different. So how would we do that? So the first thing we do, we just apply the regular old body style. But what I want to be able to do is I want to tell the typesetter, look, this bit of text, I'm going to highlight it, needs to be different. It needs to be offset. Now, highlighting it won't work because that will be lost. We want to give it a new style. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new style. But if we click on our pilcrows again, the pilcrow lets us know when there's an end of a paragraph. So all that text, those 5 words, isn't just that, those 5 words are a paragraph. And we're talking paragraph styles. So what we might want to do is, notice I jumped to the middle. Story starts in the middle. So I've already applied the style body, so any new paragraph that we create, any new paragraph style, I apologise, is going to be based on body. So watch. Do a new, and I'm going to call this extract. I'm going to give it a shortcut key, Control 4, and I'm going to make this very different. I'm just for the purpose of this this tutorial, and I'm going to give an indentation, okay, of 30 points, which is a very large indentation, but just why not? So I've dealt with this, Control 4, but I have to deal with this and I have to deal with this. What does that mean? So if I now do Control 4 here, extract, but I still want to create some space before stand on your feet Hungarian. So I'm going to create a new style. Extract first. And again, I first applied extract and then I pressed new style so that it would be based on it. And then here, as well as it's converted into centimetres, as well as a 30-point indent, you need to add a 15-point space before. Now the typesetter might decide 15 points is too much, let's do 7.5 points. It doesn't really matter. All that's important to the typesetter is that it's different. But now we get to body. This body now also has to have space before. So now we're going to create, it says body, we applied the style body a few moments ago, and we're going to call body space before. Now I'm very lazy, I just type SP for space, B and the number 4. I do this a lot, so I have to have a few shortcuts. And I'm going to call that Control Alt 2. And the only difference is going to be is I'm going to have space before of 15 points. Okay? So the moment I've done that now, I've offset this. Now I've done a very big offset and a huge amount of white space on the left and before and after. But the typesetter is going to do his own styles. He might decide that body space before is going to be a different typeface. He could choose Arno Pro. He might choose different spacing, etc., etc. But this is important, and this brings us to, I think, something important to bring up in this tutorial, because it's something that comes up a fair amount, and it's never fully understood. The question always is, should this paragraph be indented if we've got space before? If it's a new paragraph, then I would probably argue yes. But if this is a continuation of here is the approximate translation. In other words, this could have been written like this. It wouldn't have been very aesthetic, but it could have been. Then, perhaps this shouldn't be indented. And that's very important. So then you can say, then let's make this body first, and create a new style called body first space before. And then you change the format, so we're going to add here 15 points. And then the typesetter knows, of course this isn't showing you very well because unfortunately it's gone over to a new page. But the typeset, let's just for the purpose of this, we're going to add some paragraph returns, right? Very naughty, okay? So the typesetter will now know the difference between this and this. Okay, I didn't create a shortcut key, so let's create a shortcut key for this. There already is one, as I suspected. So there's a difference between this and this. And this is important. So rather than this now being typeset, going back for proofreading, and then the typesetter didn't do it right, the editor has to say, no, 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 please indent or don't indent, then this is taken care of. And this is really about it. This is how we deal with paragraph styles throughout the book. Obviously, whilst applying these paragraph styles, you can get an idea of what the book's going to look like, and if you give some, sizes and fonts which are realistic, then you'll be able to get an idea. So we'll just quickly do chapter 3. I'm going to switch the pilcrows on to see what's going on. I'm going to get rid of this page break. I hit the shift key and the end key, so it highlighted the whole line, and press the delete key, not the backspace key, so the delete key. Chapter 4, I'm going to get rid of that colon. Control 7 was my shortcut to make chapter number. You can see on the right that's going on. And it's already put in, now it's made on a new page. Control 8, Control Alt W. I happen to Control Alt 1, sorry. Control 0. I know the shortcuts, of course, off by heart, since I do this every single day. So that's just a quick idea. If you go ahead and code the entire document, then you can have a bit of fun. Just for yourselves, you can go into layout, you can choose a size of a book. Rather than A4, you can say, let's make a real size of a book, let's say 15 by 22, and perhaps make the margins a little bit less, a little bit more narrow, and then you can get an idea. This book's 131 pages, so you get a kind of an idea of what the book's really going to look like, and when you print it. So I hope you found this tutorial. It's quite a long tutorial, but I hope you found it useful. Just to remind you, all the typesetter needs are these names. It needs just the names of the paragraph styles. Don't have to be the right font, doesn't have to be the right size. If you present a typesetter, if you were to send me now a file that looked like this, I'm just going to be let's have a bit of fun. Arial, let's see how not appropriate for a book this would look like. Let's go to double line spacing. If I was to receive a book like this, I'd be very, very happy because, as I say, all I need is the word body. And you saw how quick it was to change the typeface, which is, of course, a very useful thing if you're working in different sized computer screens and tablets, etc. So you can set it up to really be the way that you want. And here I'm just for fun, I'm changing it to 11 and 14 points, and I get a different look, etc., etc. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope this has been useful. Feel free to I don't know why that just appeared, I apologize. Feel free to put comments, email me, and have any questions about how to set this up. Feel free either to put comments in the comments below or to get in touch with me directly. Thank you.